Hi, everyone. My name is Joanne Borlase, and I'm an evolutionary astrologer. I'm here with Robin and also Sue Hilliard of the EA Zoom room meeting. I'm going to continue my presentation today. This part will be the second one of my apple tree presentation through the phases and aspects in astrology. And my focus, again, it's been to just do something a little different and trying to correlate in physical form how nature and natural laws reflect astrology through the astrological phases and aspects. So I'll be using two planets, Venus and Pluto, which I'll be discussing later on, to show relationship dynamics through the phases and aspects in the second quadrant. And you'll likely notice these phases. Again, they reflect a lot or have a lot in common with the moon phases and the moon's 8 phase cycle. Um, so we've covered the new phase and the crescent phase. And in part two, we're going to go into the first quarter phase and then the gibbous phase. So I'm not an orchardist or a gardener, and definitely no expert in astrology. I'm still this humble student learning, and please forgive me if I've not done enough research. Feel free to express your thoughts, your opinions. I'm totally open. And there won't be any math or calculations here. Again, this is just a very basic overview of the energies, and I'm not going to go through every single aspect either. There's not enough time for that. So this is part two of four through the four quadrants, which also represent the four seasons in nature and while reflecting upon the apple tree's growth cycle. So let's begin. And I think I discussed this last time, but I just wanted to bring it up. I probably won't bring it up again for part three and part four, but I just wanted to mention once more again that um, the Earth's orbit around the sun, it's not perfect, and the Earth's tilt on its axis and the sun following its ecliptic path. There's just different seasons going on between the north and south hemispheres. And so whether you're in the north or south during summer or winter solstices, these times of year, they're wet temperaments. And it's also along the Cancer Capricorn axis, which is also wet. And when summer, the rain, winter, we have the snow, high precipitation going on. And depending on how seasons, the conditions in the seasons play out, the photos in this presentation, they may be off a little bit seasonally, maybe like a month or a few weeks, depending on your location. I'll just go to the next slide here. Um, so there's a lot of, uh, in part one, I talked about as above, so below, and the macrocosm, the microcosm principles. So here I'd like to give a bit more of an introduction to the folklore and the mysteries about the apple and the apple tree through the story of Snow White. So Snow White, the seeds of and the poison, the death and the rebirth uh, emphasis here, or the archetypes here. So Snow White, she ate the poisoned apple, causing her this sleeping death. And even though this is just a fairy tale, there's a lot of significance and philosophical meaning in life itself. Snow White, she accepts the apple from her stepmother, who's the wicked stepmother, the wicked mother, the witch whom she trusted, and the witch is jealous of Snow White's youthful beauty. And beauty is something associated with the planet Venus. It's valued, it's worthy. So they're relevant to the planet Venus and the Taurus and Libra archetypes. So when biting into this juicy apple, the sweetness, which is one of Taurus's five senses, being taste, um, it's very luscious. You can't get enough of it. I mean, you're eating and eating it, and then suddenly you get to the seeds or the sharpness of the encasings of the seeds, which connect with your gums. So it's basically a warning that you get to, and with eating the seeds, there's this bitter taste, and it kind of shocks you. It's a bit of a crisis that goes on inside. You've forgotten the sweet, the sweetness of the apple, and so now you're confronted with this feeling of what have I done? And that sweetness feeling you tasted only moments ago, it's gone. And so the seeds, they turn into cyanide in the body, which is poison and emphasizing death. So this is all real stuff, real stuff. Another interesting fact with this story is mm, it's a it's a bit of a wake-up call or an awakening when you're confronted with these seeds. And this is sort of a Uranian or an individuating element going on here. Venus was actually born from sexual violence and from the testes of Uranus cut by Saturn, and who after threw them into the sea, and then um, there was this foam that fell into the sea as well, and Venus rose from this foam. She walked out of the sea and onto a beach. And so this can be compared to walking out of source, the divine mother energies. And this is all in reference to water as well. And this is very important because the first quarter phase and first quarter square are at a water archetype being Cancer, which I'll get to in a moment. But Venus is also exalted in the sign Pisces, which is also water again. So we're looking at a lot of water energies here that are associated with the divine and also mother energies. And I think that Venus in Scorpio, it's quite a transformative place for Venus to be, especially in relationships. And Venus in Scorpio is like an investment, you know? So I also wanted to bring this Uranian element into the story where the Wicked Queen, she's quite rebellious with her husband. She will not conform to any of his standards. And this shows the potential of awakening to higher consciousness, which I think is really important. And the Queen, though, also she could be playing out a bit of the patriarch uh, archetype too in her domination of the husband. But Aquarius, it rules two planets. It rules Uranus and it also rules Saturn. Um, so I've gone a bit off track here, but just to say a bit more about the good Queen Mother, um, when she pricked her finger while sewing, she watched her blood drip onto the white snow, wishing for a daughter who had skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and then the hair black as ebony. So she died while giving birth to Snow White in the spring. And I'm going into this Cancer archetype again, the first quarter phase square. This is a time of life's renewal and transformation in the spring, between spring and summer. It's showing the cycle of death and rebirth again here. And with the fourth house archetype, this story fits well because we've got Moon and Cancer archetypes playing out in the issues of the fourth house, representing the mother, the maternal parent, and so I've changed my slide here, going to like the fourth house here. the Cancer archetype. We've got um, the first quarter square with the moon showing here, and then the Cancer zodiac sign. And yeah, so we've got a lot of mother-daughter energies playing out at this point. We've got the fourth house with the inner emotional security patterns, the emotional body, which is what we evolve through early childhood, and how our emotional body is being shaped and formed. Also, the fourth house, the IC, the Imam Kwili, that's called the seat of the soul. And this is also on um, the Capricorn Cancer axis, which I also consider the spine of a natal chart. It's like home, it's family. And the fourth house activates the 10th house, the Capricorn polarity point. So there's this coming of age hypothesis to the story as well. And when you're looking at this access, there's a maturing element that needs to take place at this fourth house fourth or first quarter square, a maturing element that needs to take place. And it's a place of our foundation where we need to basically grow up, activate the 10th house archetype. And yeah, the coming of age stuff hypothesis. So yeah, basically learning to rely on ourselves and um, gain our own strength through our own inner nurturing, um, shape our own structure, our internal structures, our emotional body through the 10th house archetype. So I also wanted to say about this Queen Mother soul who she threatened, or sorry, she sacrificed herself, her life, to birth her daughter, Snow White. And the Queen Mother is possibly even that same soul transformed into the child of Snow White as she was birthed through the Queen Mother's womb, which is also representative again of the Divine Mother. It's a place of source or connection to source through the Trinity. And yeah, so she birthed this child as if she birthed her own dream of beauty worth dying for or murdering for, which the wicked stepmother, when she was coming into the picture, being so envious of that spiritual beauty. And so when we look at beauty outside of ourselves, if we don't have a very strong internal structure, then we can feel threatened and um, as feel threatened by somebody else's beauty. So I just kind of wanted to bring all this stuff up. I thought it was important. Just a couple of elements. Apples also symbolize the loss of innocence when eating an apple, and the white of the apple symbolizes purity, innocence, what is good, what is sweet, which was Snow White's skin. And then the red skin symbolizes womanhood, fertility, blood, life, which is life and water, um, and menstruation, sexuality, but also violence and murder, which is representative of Snow White's lips. And that's the process of the metamorphosis taking place. And then there's the seeds, the dark seeds, when the apple's ripe and ready, which represents evil or something bad happening, which is cyanide poisoning. And that's the death or transformation element taking place. And with the fourth house access to here, there's that family saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And then with the tree of knowledge, the linkage with the apple tree, there's apples are given to teachers or wise people, showing, a learning as like a learning element or a symbol. So I just wanted to also show you this quote here um, that is by Carl Jung. It's just something very heavy to ponder about beauty, and particularly, beautiful woman is a source of terror. And then, as a rule, a beautiful woman is a terrible disappointment. So it's just there's um, a lot of deep meaning in this quote that I mean you could really dig deep into this stuff. So moving on. So each quadrant here, looking at the four quadrants. So we've got the first one, which we covered. And actually, I do just want to mention something here in this quadrant, the new phase, something wanted to touch on, but I missed. And that's just the glyphs, the astrological glyphs and how they reflect nature. They can be seen. So in Aries, we had that bud opening up, as above, so below, stuff happening, the upward thrust of life. Aries also resembling the human reproductive organs, and then its polar point, or the Libra Aries axis. You've got the human reproductive systems going on, and Aries and Libra, it's about balancing energies. Also, cell division in meiosis and mitosis, as you can see here. Um, this is like the splitting of the cell division. It's the first part, or one of the first parts of cell division going on. And then the fine point here, the upside down, well, the arrow piercing life, which is inside. Life is coming from within, not outside. And the next one, whoops, the next one is Taurus. So I missed this. We've got the bull, and thank you, Jordan, later on, who mentioned this to me. The bull represents springtime, a time of fertility and renewal of the land. So the bull horns are like, come fertilize me, come get me. So you can see like these little buds just starting to open up, and there's a fragrance coming through to attract the insects for pollination. And then also with Taurus, this is interesting in the body, we've got the larynx, and which is in the throat. And um, the physical part of the body associated with Taurus is throat. So I thought that was important to show. And then in the Gemini here, we've got the twins, the Roman numeral 2, duplicity, duplication, the duality going on. And then just, in nature, there's always this duplication happening with the human body. We've got duality, two hands, two eyes, two ears. One side is reflecting the other side. We've got left and right side, which, the left hand, the right hand, not everybody is ambidextrous, able to use both. Some are only right dominant or left dominant. And then also showing joined at the head is the spirit, joined at the feet is the matter. So you've got that, as above, so below. And by the way, that is going on in all the signs, as above, so below, that life principle element. It's in all the signs, it's in all of nature. And also Gemini is an androgynous sign, or androgynous energy element. So neither this male or female or feminine, masculine, none of that. It's, androgynous, and dealing with trying to balance yin and yang energies. So I just wanted to go over that. And so we'll go into the second quadrant now, which is the first quarter phase and the gibbous phase. And you can see this time is summertime. It's a very lush time of year. Everything's sparkling and buzzing about. Everything's so colorful. It's very, very deep colors. And in the moon, you can see first quarter phase is 90 degrees. Gibbs phase is at 135 degrees. And so, yeah, the moon cycles, you can see when you go out and watch in the sky where the moon is at. And uh, so let's see here. I'm just catching up in my notes here. I'll go to the next slide. Okay. So we've got the first quarter square, which is an important gateway. It's transitional. And the key word here is conflict and crisis. Cancer is a very, very Cancerian energy. Water is the element, and we're looking at modality of cardinal energy. It's cold and moist, so phlegmatic, and it's yang stimulated by yin energies. So they're going back and forth here. And this is a crisis in action. There's push, this push and pull energy. So push going outward, which is the yang, and then the pulling inward, which is the yin, associated with a crisis. And during this time, it's June, and there's this thing called June drop. And so the push-pull energies with young fruitlets, they can easily loosen, and the apples that are formed early on that cannot be supported by the tree if it's not old enough, um, they naturally fall to the ground. So it needs to be older and a stronger tree to support these apples that are growing. And usually they get pinched off early on, but if they're not, they fall to the ground. The gravity pulls them back down, tries to pull them back into the earth, into the mother womb. So yeah, the bearing of fruit around this time. So the birth of an apple. During this time, it's a very insecure time, and cancer's highly sensitive. It's very insecure. Again, we're dealing with those with the emotional foundation, the emotional inner securities. And so, with this birth of an apple coming out, there's a separate identity taking place. And this is separate from the rest of the tree. So, you've got a mother energy happening here with the tree, birthing an apple, and then you've got the children. Yeah. So, this is like friction happening. There's a loss of individuality that it had prior when it did not have the apples as it was growing. And if the tree is weak, the fruit may not make it. So it really needs that strong inner structure, thus that Capricorn polarity going on. Sorry, I have to take a drink of water. So yeah, the 10th house, fourth house access. And in human consciousness, at this point, this is a fear of loss of individuality because the soul wants to stay where it feels safe and secure and not emerge and to not bring out this new identity. So it's taking a lot of energy. It's going into a bit of a fear state. So that's why this is like a crisis in action taking place here. Also, during this time, um, there's still the stem attached in the apple to the tree. So it's like an umbilical cord. So it isn't really fully pushed out yet. It hasn't really fully pushed out yet. It's it's in its process, and tree growth is very slow. It's Taurus. It's not a very fast moving energy. And also at this point, tree bark is coming out, it's thickening more, it's growing another layer of support. and it's trying to create a strong inner and outer structure and boundary and also foundation. Um, yeah, so you're looking at the Capricorn energies here in the 10th house and opposite fourth house, um, uh, Cancerian energy. So also no true two trees, apples or leaves are the same. Even going back to the duplicity or duplication in Gemini, your right side is not the same as your left side. So when you look at two leaves or a couple of apples, when you look closer at them, they're not the same. They have a similar structure and layout, but they're totally different. So, yeah, that's considered the egoic structured identity that's building or taking place here. And yeah, so trees have an inner unique identity too, an individuality in every tree, every leaf, every apple. So this is again a very significant time. It's a gateway because without enough supported elements this time of year, as in the sun, which is fire, earth, the soil, and the nutrients, the wind, the air, and the rain, being the water, the tree and the apples will not grow to their potential later on. And rainfall also increases that mother's milk mixed with, the water mixed with the soil. So that's like the mother's milk to nourish the tree. And that provides sugar that gets turned into starch, which gets stored for energy later on for the tree's respiration to take place, and for its further development. So I just wanted to go over quickly to just the glyph here. We've got the egg and the sperm, the fourth house, Cancerian energies, which is the family, emphasis, the maternal, paternal parents, the offspring, the ancestral lineage, early home environment, inner home foundation, that sort of thing, the claws of the crab. So you can see in the pictures here, the stigma and the stamen. So this is all the reproductive happening, taking place, and they really do resemble the astrological glyphs, which are the constellations in the sky. So nobody made this stuff up. This already existed. And also the breasts, the number 69, which continues the as above, so below, and you can see it here, you can see it here, the as above, so below. And going on here, the yin, the yang, which is relevant here, also part of this archetype, day and night, inner and outer. And then we also have something called high noon and midnight. So high noon is the midhaven, the top of the chart. Capricorn's the highest point, and then the deepest part of the soul, the bottom of the chart, the IC, which is midnight, which is a very, very significant time because it's um the energies are so opposite and yet they're connected. And midnight and high noon, yeah, I mean you've got that moment between day and night. Okay, moving on to the trine. So you can see here at this time of year, there's more mature tree here. In the tree, it's showing off its creative self-expression, self-actualization. Cells are multiplying here. There's a fullness of self and a lot of heart in what it's showing, or giving to, life. Um, there's that fire and yawn energy. The emergence is instinctive and it's outward. It's very powerful, strong. And again, the apples are the tree's children, which are the seeds of the future. And yeah, you can see it's just brimming with brilliance and pride and the ripening color, the red that you can see coming in here. Um, there's this waxy coating too. Yeah, so when you don't have a mature tree, just down here, I'm just showing off the sensitivity, how the branches can easily be eaten or broken off at this point. So there's a lot of sensitivity here and fragility. But going on to this Leo archetype, the trine, with the keyword is gift. Um, we've got this eye shine element. And so the apples, they actually excrete this waxy coating naturally. And this is to protect the apples, but this waxy coating, I mean, that's the eye shine element of Leo. I shine, I'm coming out sort of thing. Look at me. Look at all my stuff. And it's just very I shine energy. It's pretty brilliant. Um, and I'll just move on here. So when we're looking at that constellation of Leo, also again in the sky, it's associated with Hercules' battle with the fierce Nemean monster lion, which was one of Hercules' first 12 labors. But it's also associated with the flooding of the Nile during this time of year, and where arid land becomes fertile. And also in looking at the glyph, it's like the shape of a heart, half of a heart, two heart halves here. So you've got it here and then down here. Again, as above, so below, and showing that you should be following your heart and right use of one's will, honor and power of the heart, and to not lose heart during challenging times, which is really important to have strength and courage, the courage of a lion's heart, to be brave, that sort of thing. And then the sun's eagle life force, the inner solar child, which is the creative expression. Just going back here, and looking at these pictures, you can see the tree's creative expression of itself, its ultimate expression taking place here. So it's very important. And also, I want to touch on this mitochondrial Eve, which is the X chromosome, and then Adam, we have the Y chromosome. Um, Particle with a wave, that's this particle element here, and then the wave, and then we've also got the sun and its rays being the wave, and then also the egg and the sperm too, like in the previous slide before with Cancer. We've got like the egg here and then the sperm. And then this time of year, in looking at full bloom, the flower with the petals. So the center's like the sun, and there's a lot of life force in this center. And here you see opening up with the rays of the sun. So it's kind of like going outward. And then the bee pollen too, which is the color yellow or very golden. Sometimes it's brown, but the ranges are very much the sun's energy. And so, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up too. I thought that was pretty significant with Leo and the trine. So moving into the gibbous phase here, the sesquisquadrate, and the key word here is challenge. So it's a Virgo in essence, but it's still in Leo. And so you've got this yin and yang, or yeah, yin and yang stuff happening. So the apple here is pretty much pushed itself outward, and it's trying to adjust. But there's more maturity showing in its red or blush color and still to come. And there's these imperfections that also emerge in the leaves and the disease, fungus and viruses that begin to set in, and the leaves may start dropping off too. And even if the apples are very healthy, they still separate. Like there's this separating energies going on. There's a loss of leaves that can be considered a sacrifice to put the energy into the apple. So this is very Virgo, to serve the apple, which is its ultimate prize. And then the separation of of the disease that's coming in, this is kind of like a discernment of what to keep and what to eliminate. So you can see that the energy is also withdrawing, it's going inside again towards the apples. But you can see a lot of the Virgo and the gibbous phase and the Sesquisquadrate playing out here. And so I don't know how the apple tree or the apples feel, but I don't think this disease stuff feels very good. I don't think that, I think it's an irritant or it's annoying, which is very much this sesquisquadrate energy. It's an annoyance. Yeah. So moving on to the quincunx, which is an adjustment or an analysis taking place. So we've got the external growth slowing down, and there's this state of inertia that's coming to set in, and the tree is likely adjusting to its next phase of development, and the energy is being pulled inward this time of year as well, being that there's a big seasonal change coming. The temperatures are starting to drop and the light is starting to decrease. So there's this possible collapse of outward energy to move inward. And during this time, there's this hormone also coming in. It's like it's a gas. It's coming in, and a gas is Libra, which we'll get to in part three. But with Virgo, so this gas or hormone's called ethylene, and it's produced by the tree to accelerate the ripening and signaling to drop the apples just before harvest time. So you can see that also the imperfections and flaws that are going on, the leaves are less vibrant, they're beginning to pale. Um, there's the disease is starting to spread, and apples here are strong and resilient, almost ready for harvesting in Libra. And then the stems are also thickening. They're preparing to separate, to dry out and let go, and air, which is Libra, to dry out, um, to eliminate them. And yeah, there's this shedding that's taking place, and to release the apples at the beginning of fall. So we're not in fall yet, even though we might be in the month of September. It's still a time of summer. And yeah, so Virgo's very much also associated to um, having diseases and, infections and that sort of thing that with the energy. So it really does show in nature. So I'm moving on here, just to the glyph. Again, we have the winged angel, the Virgin Maiden, which is representative Isis, and Osiris was her husband. We also have Demeter, Ceres, and Hades with being Pluto. And Virgo and Pisces is where Earth meets heaven, and Virgo is the largest constellation in the zodiac. So it's very, very important. It has a lot of spiritual significance. The constellation Hydra is known as the water snake. And we've got Virgo, which is yin and being an earth sign connected to the plants, and plants are androgynous. And also, we've got the rebirth hypothesis happening here, where just going to my notes. Um, yeah, it's about um, the inside birth going on. It's androgynous again. It's plants reproduce asexually. So this is kind of like bringing up that um, Virgin Mary hypothesis. But what's really being discussed here is this Christ consciousness, self-realization stuff taking place here. It's the ability to see beyond the veil. It's that third eye stuff. It's the pregnant virgin has something to show, but she's kept it hidden. And that's where, you look at she's kept it hidden, and that's where this of crossing of the legs happens. And the loop. And like the M is also reflective of um the sexual reproductive organs, sexual organs, and the loop introspection, discernment, right and wrong, and a pulling inward of energy. Um, so, yeah, the Christ consciousness center, the third eye, the self realization, all of that stuff. The concept of parthenogenesis, which is this gestation of something within is being birthed, and um, seeing beyond the veil of life. It's these gifts of heaven that are coming in. So it's very, very significant. I could go on about this. You can see in the glyph in nature as well, within the trees' branches, within the leaves, and also in the root systems of trees, the same kind of winding and crossing within the plants and nature itself. And also digestion here. We've got the digestive tract. So, if you turn this symbol sideways, you've got, yeah, the digestive system of uh, a lot of animals, mammals, humans, even cells, going through a system, some kind of a system. And and Virgo's very much about that digestion. It's taking what it needs and eliminating what it doesn't need. And again, if you reverse this, you've got this like the digestive system. You turn it on the side, you've got this M symbol. So yeah. Um, I'll just move on here. So coming into now the relationship structures with Venus and Pluto, we'll talk about the first quarter phase, which is the crisis in action stuff, which I was just talking about not long ago, and then we'll go into the gibbous phase. So again, with Pluto, this is not an easy ride in a relationship. There's always this intense, mysterious, and very deep penetrating pull that has an eeriness attached to it. It's magnetic and draws people together. There's this unconscious desire to explore and to experience. And usually this is fated energy. It's not, I don't see it as destined. I see it as fate. It's usually karmic, and it's difficult to resist. You lose yourself in it. So basically, whatever you've experienced in the past, it's continuing its process. You're meeting up with people who you've been with in other times and places, whether this life or maybe a recent past life. And so again, this energy is like the ultimate other. When Venus comes into the picture, there's no one else. There's just this desire. I want to merge with this person. I want to become this person. But in reality, there's this mystery, or you can even call it a deception of the divine, or like you're under a spell. And it can eventually lead to betrayal, loss, and abandonment, which are very Scorpio Pluto energies. And this is where the power struggles, the confrontations, limitations, and manipulations. And there's lots to say about this archetype of Pluto Scorpio. That go on, and it's just basically a very emotionally intense ride. So, with Venus, though, there's this tendency to put the rosy glasses on, um, and to instead create these codependencies. If I do this for you, then you have to do this for me. There is no lesson. Well, it's a lesson of unconditional love, but you have to go through the conditional love. before you get to the unconditional love. And again, losing sight of oneself in the relationship, the displaced emotions, imbalances, and extremes between self and others, trying to balance time. So, time alone, time spent with others, which is very Aries Libra stuff going on. And then there's the inequalities and tendency to go to extremes, also needing to be in a relationship. All of this stuff is basically going to bring a deeper awareness about yourself and the relationship and where you fit in it all, and also the other person. And this is a huge lesson and part of the soul's journey. So, yeah, these Pluto Venus aspects, they often weave a narrative of one's dance of your own shadow and your own karma, revealing how one might emerge or engage with these themes of control tactics and power struggles and all of that stuff. So moving on to this first quarter phase plus the first quarter square. So this energy, again, crisis in action. This is where there's deep emotional reactions that play out. They're the unconscious inner security needs and patterns, and it's that crisis in action, one's inner foundation. And so high emotional needs are likely expressed here at the square. There's this dependence on support from others that can emerge when you're going through something difficult on your own. And this is where the codependencies can form, and it creates the power struggles and inner conflict that happens within a relationship. And the parties are not likely in a happy place when, after we've left that trine of um, uh, or sorry, after we've left just the initial part of the relationship, here we're really, really getting to know each other. And so everybody's stuff's coming out. And there's this tendency to withdraw from one another as well. There's an inability to support your own emotional security, stand on your own, and the relationship that you're building on codependencies may create the illusion of support, but again, it's not the real structured support that has to come from within. So, yeah, we could easily end up in these places of, a happy place where it was before when you first met, and a nice sunny warm seat here to a wet destructive seat here. And so these are the good times and the bad times. You got a flat tire, and I like to go back to this tricycle where the big wheel is the relationship and it needs two partners to drive it. But when one partner has a flat tire, what do? You have to pick yourself up. You can't rely on the other partner to come over to leave the wheel and try to fix the other wheel. You can't do it. So you have to do the work on yourself for this stuff. And it's very difficult. And of course, so you need to have that really strong inner structure, which is really difficult with the square. So we often look for, um, this parental nurturing as well from our partners. And this is impossible for anybody to give, because self-nurturing has to come from yourself, not from somebody else. And so the reason why we do this is because Cancer naturally squares the seventh house, which is the relationship. So we're always looking for our parents in our relationships. But, you know, if you keep doing that, it's just going to be a very rough ride. It can actually break the relationship apart. It's a square, right? So it's just a very, very difficult time. There's a lot of neediness going on. And also with Venus, It's about values and self-worth and valuing your ability to be responsible and fully accountable for yourself. And the more that you are valuing that that worth in yourself rather than trying to get it from others, that helps strengthen the relationship. So yeah. So moving on to the first quarter trine. So this is a really gifted place for the couple or the partners, and um, we've just left that big scary square, and so the bond starts to become closer now. There's more trust and warmth. There's a more solid foundation taking place. Um, from being built in that square, and there's this fullness about the relationship. The person you're with is everything to you, it has everything to offer you. It's a time of ease and fun, which is the Leo trine stuff going on. You're in tune with one another, you're in the right place with the right person. Everything fits true together. The opportunity to take bigger steps forward or to do bigger stuff together is there. And the energy is just really flowing strong like it is in the summer, when everything is buzzing around and sparkling. And so there's a lot more creative expression and sexual chemistry that takes place here. And there's just this feeling of shining to one another. The relationship even has a glow. And it's just a very playful time where there's joy and a lot of deep love and affection and yeah. Um, so even though that this is a great time, there's still a little bit of friction here because it's only a first quarter trine. There's still some anxiousness and fears that come out as well, and some emotional insecurities. And basically, um, there's a tendency here to put the other person on such a high platform, which is very Leo in the sun, that um, it becomes a distortion. And, you can't fill somebody else's or your own existential void with somebody else's inner light. You have to fill your void with your own inner light. You can't get that from somebody or even the relationship. So again, this first quarter phase is all about inner structure. It's like it ripples, like water, it ripples throughout all the other aspects going on. And the second phase, the gibbous phase. So yeah, you can never fill anybody's inner light. That has to come from you. Yeah, so moving on here, the next critical um, gateway, oops, sorry, is the gibbous phase, which is halfway through the sign Leo. So we've got this sesquisquadrate aspect going on here, and in this phase, there's some self-doubts that can emerge. There's more discernment, discrimination, as well as paranoia and criticisms that often emerge. There's this worrying about the other person, yourself, or the relationship, and a tendency also to either serve each other or the relationship rather than feel like a really valued partner in it. And you may feel like you're sacrificing yourself or the relationship or the other person at times just to hold the relationship together. So there's also this quietness within the relationship that can emerge compared to that outward trine energy that was, yeah, bursting outward with Leo. And in this phase, there's more gaining perspective of what the relationship is to you. And can even feel like there's this collapsing of energy, like the relationship doesn't feel like it did, so many months or years ago or whatever during the trying time. And so there's this inner analysis and adjustment that's going to be taking place. So with the Sesquisquadrate, um, it's a very intense but transformative aspect that brings challenge to the relationship. And it's like the square, but not as obvious because all the squares that you go through in life, they're like in your face kind of energy. They're very powerful. You can't ignore them. But the Sesca is just something like you want to ignore or procrastinate with. Um, and these can be the idiosyncrasies in a relationship, the things that are annoying, they're there, you ignore them, but they annoy the hell out of you. And this is like the Felix and the Oscar stuff in a relationship, where you've got somebody who's just a complete slob, who's comfortable in a mess, and then you've got the other person who's always picking up after the person who's the slob. This is just an example. The neat freak who's cleaning all the dust bunnies that are accumulating, separating the dirty and clean laundry, doing the dishes. And this can create a lot of friction. There's a stubbornness in this energy too, which comes from people's habits of just who they are. And um, hmm, so you're going from that perfection state in that first quarter trine to now this gibbous phase where there's this collapsing of that big fullness of energy you had not long ago. And it's like, oh, this isn't good. I don't like this stuff. And basically there's changes starting and something new is coming in and it can create arguments and just not wanting to change. And this is where doubts can come in and, that not good enough for you. I'm not good enough. Uh, uh, yeah, not good enough for you, or you're not good enough for me. And the power struggles that come to surface, there could be ultimatums, threats, or do or die. If you don't do this, then, I'm going to do this or I'm not doing that. And it's just a lot more challenges and confrontations, creating limitations within the relationship. And but all what this stuff is basically the Virgo stuff, trying to separate the stuff that's working and the stuff that's not working. And so it's not a deal breaker. It's not that the relationship's done. It's just that there's this need to assess and further define the relationship, further analyze it, and yeah, to just try to clean it up a little bit, like, well, sometimes you'll have to do the picking up after, and then other times the other person is going to have to put up with that, the neatness, and is going to have to, it's basically coming to terms or compromising, and again, trying to purify it, purge the stuff that's just not any good anymore. And then, so lastly, we've got this inconjunct or quincunx. And sorry, it's right here, this little symbol aspect here. It looks like a picnic table, which is not really a picnic. Um, so this is a time of where a relationship is going through an adjustment. And again, fears come up. There's a lot of nervousness, restlessness, and anxiety, or feelings of disappointment in the relationship or the other person, and feelings also of being persecuted by somebody. Um, and this can also bring endings. This is actually a pretty strong aspect. Actually, I think all the aspects, even the soft ones, are pretty powerful, depending on how they're playing out in a chart and during transits. But anyway, so this is unpredictable energy with the quincunx. You think things are going a certain way, and then suddenly something new comes in, and you're like, oh, this isn't what I wanted. And so there's this sacrifice that begins to emerge. You have to sacrifice something within you to put up with somebody else's stuff. And it's like uh, one person, like, just this is kind of extreme, but say you find out your partner's involved in drug dealing, and you're like, oh, this person kept this from me and had been lying, didn't tell me the truth. And we're dealing with Mercury energies here. So lying could come into play, and there's this business of discernment and discriminating fact from fiction. So you find out this element, well, this is not my thing, and should I end the relationship now? But I'm totally pulled into this relationship, like we're living together now. So what do you do? And so, do do you go through this dilemma of separating, eliminating your own prior values and judgments, or do you split with the person and say, this is just not my thing and I can see where this is going? But it's just a lot of times what happens is people put up with stuff. That's what this energy is kind of about. We put up with it. And Virgo's also known as the archetype of masochist and the sadist, and possible feelings of deserving such kind of relationship or a person, and having to sacrifice your inner values and worth while being dominated by somebody else's values and worth, and having to accept it. So here you're looking at, again, the separating of energies, separating of what the elements are in the relationship. And it's really not an easy time. It's these relationships are at this point are going through some difficult phases. And, you know, um, yeah, it's just all, again, this Virgo energy and these aspects, it's all about processing these energies and archetypes that are taking place. So you can see in nature too how reflective it is, like the disease. The leaves are not as bright, they're paling, and things are just, the energy's just all starting to change. The light is starting to decrease. And yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, so this concludes my second quadrant. Hopefully I'm not too far over time here. I just want to say thank you so much to all of you for being here, for your time. Thank you again to Sue and Robin and the EA Zoom meeting team for this brilliant invitation. Very grateful. And I just want to thank my magnificent teachers, also at Soulwise School of Astrology, Evolutionary Astrology, and in particular, Rose Marcus for all of her wisdom, guidance, and support, and the Jeffrey Wolf Green Association of Evolutionary Astrologers and the Jeffrey Wolf Green School of Evolutionary Astrology, all other EA astrologers, my friend, and uh, also another teacher for his continued wisdom, guidance, support, Michael Zezas, and special thanks to Darren Turpin again for just these beautiful photos, and for his kindness in all this research, or not all of it, but some of it, helping me with my questions. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you're looking for any schools, books, and resources, feel free to resort to this page here. There's a lot of brilliant teachings, and also the channel, the Evolutionary Astrology Zoom meeting room channel. You can get a lot of education there too. So I think that's pretty much it. If you want to contact me, you can reach me here. This is my contact information. my website, my email, and also my YouTube channel. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you, Joanne. I love how you tied everything together so intricately and you didn't miss any details.
Yes, excellent job.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you.
We look
Peace and
forward to
love.
part 3.
Thanks so much. Peace and love too.